Mhm.
personality differences as it impacts cultural harmony. Um, if your shop, if your mill woodworking shop looks like mine, it's right out of Central Casting with 2 Duck Dynasty guys wearing the MAGA hats, the coveralls. They're brilliant carpenters.
Yep.
But you get a salesperson that walks back there, um, and just doesn't say something the right way or doesn't show the respect of, I mean, you're supposed to be making me 2 counters. How hard can that be? How come they're not ready?
Right.
Right?
Yep.
So we've spent some time talking about all of these people from a client perspective. I'm just wondering, as a business leader, there are inherent differences in getting certain personalities to play nice with others. Is that it? Yeah, how do you tackle that? How do you and where do you draw the line? Where do you go, I put up with this from these individuals because they're so good at this, but at some point,
Yep.
if they're disruptive, what how do you balance it? What do you do to try and fix that?
I think that that requires a little bit of training, with regard to what the mission is and what the role is too. I think obviously, we have extremely talented shop guys, but they're craftsmen. I wouldn't even. It would be an insult to call them a carpenter.
That's true.
Um, they do not. No, I'm not. It's just like they do not want a role that's client facing. They're a craftsman because they want to be a craftsman because they're really good at what they do. And a salesperson that's front facing wants to be a salesperson and wants to be engaging with his audience because he's or she is really good at what they do there. But they're not going to go out back and build a cabinet or build a custom element to a booth. And they're not a craftsman. They're a craftsman on the sales side of things because maybe they can manage a timeline, they can manage a relationship, but they then need to rely on somebody else to actually build the stuff. And that guy out back that's doing the building wants nothing to do with the client. So that's okay in our organization. We have roles, we have folks that are comfortable enough doing that, but we also have to spend some time coaching them as to conversations that can be had that are appropriate and inappropriate, and you know language, all those things that
Well,
that
and
happen. That,
are they required to learn how to respect the other positions, maybe in the front of the my late brother Pete, who was probably the quintessential operations guy. If my brother Dan, who's on the sales ledger side, walked in the back, you'd hear a comment, "Heads up, sales weasel in the building." These are guys like many human beings, right? They hate being sold anything. So they don't respect. They love to buy things, but they just hate being sold. So if you have sales in your title, I don't know that stereotype still exists. I got one guy, it's that I can in my operation that I know it still exists. Do you have to, you know, do anything to try and, expose them to why you should respect that front? Or do you go, it's just not worth trying to invest that?
yeah, I think it almost it's a person by person or case by case situation where you have to decide whether you're going to make the investment in coaching, training, whatever that is in that person, or are you
Yeah.
going to give them a list of things to do and work through the list and if that's okay, and not a detriment to your organization, there's an old saying, that my predecessor had. He said sometimes the vacancy is better than the position, the person being filling the current
Oh,
position, and
great line.
until you reach that point, you have to kind of manage around that.
Hmm.
Khalil introduced me months and months ago to the term
Yep.
necessary ending, right? And so
Yeah.
at some
Yep.
point, right, there may need to be a necessary ending, right? If they're
Yeah,
There
that
might
disruptive.
be. Yep. And I've been very lucky in the 13 years I've owned the company that has only happened. I can count all the times that it ever happened on one hand. So
good.
we're lucky there, and we're kind of insulated, I think, to that degree. But um, I think that having that wrong person in the wrong role makes that gap we're talking about a little wider too. So you have
Yeah.
to kind of
Yes.
coach and manage that accordingly.